Love yours.
Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my October reading wrap up. I read 15 books in October, and by doing that I met and surpassed my yearly reading goal. My goal was 120 books, and reading those 15 books brought me to 126 books I read so far this year, and I still got 2 more months left. So excited to read more books. So let's get into this. Majority of books I read are on Kindle Unlimited. I read them on my Kindle, and I just love this so much. Oh my gosh. Like, it's so cute. First book I read is called When in Rome by Sarah Adams, and this is the first book of the series. There's 2 books so far. I already read the second book for some crazy reason, so now I backtrack to read the first book, and this book was also so good, so cute. It's a small town grumpy sunshine romance. It's about Amelia, who is a pop star, and she wants to escape her pop star lifestyle. So she heads off to a small town named Rome, Kentucky. Like, I didn't know that existed. But yeah, so she escapes there, where she crashes into a local pie shop owner named Noah, and literally crashes into his yard, and the story goes from there, and it's so cute, so fluffy. I really love this whole small town thing, which is surprising, because like the only thing I don't like about small towns, like small town romances, is that like all the locals are in like their business. That's the only issue I have with small town romances. But this series is so good so far, and I'm guessing like the next books will be about the other 2 sisters, hopefully. But I gave this book 4 stars. The next book I read is called Even If It Hurts, and this is the second book I read by this author, and her work just keeps getting crazier. Oh my gosh. So this is a dark romance, so trigger warnings, because this book is actually crazy. I took notes on my iPad so I wouldn't forget anything, because it was a lot. Like, okay, so it's about Aubrey, who was just doing her job when she made this girl mad, and the girl's like so mad. She wants revenge on her. She tricks Aubrey into getting invited to her party, and then I'm pretty sure she's the one who pushes Aubrey in the pool, and Aubrey drowns, and then the girl's boyfriend saves Aubrey, but the girl's still mad. She still wants her revenge, and so she asks her boyfriend to make Aubrey fall in love with him and take her V card, all that. But joke's on her, because the boyfriend ended up falling in love with Aubrey and like framing the ex for murder. All that. So this book was crazy. The girl who wanted revenge on Aubrey was crazy. The boy, his name was Dare. He's crazy. Like, he's a certified psychopath. The things he did to Aubrey, the things he did for Aubrey, like, he threatened her. He threatened her friend. He low-key sexually assaulted her. There was this whole picture incident that wasn't cool. Like, he embarrassed Aubrey. He nailed a girl to a park bench because she wrote a mean poem about Aubrey. Like, that's insane. And like, what? So, all that aside, you cannot defend him. I will not defend him, but Aubrey loves him. He loves Aubrey. It's a good thing Aubrey loves him, because like, I don't think he would let her go either way. But they did have a happy ever after. He is a psychopath. He knows he's a psychopath. This book is like Cruel Intentions on crack. that was my whole thought process, like reading this book. I was like, this is really crazy. But it was entertaining. I was entertained. There was never a dull moment like when I read this entire book. Like I read it in one sitting because I was like, what? So I gave this 3.5 stars. It would be 4 if it wasn't for the somnophilia, if that's how you pronounce it. Wasn't a fan of that, but yeah, 3.5 stars for this book. I read the Deception series next, and this was a reread actually because I felt myself going into this reading slump and I didn't want that to happen. So I read something that I know I loved before that would wake me up, and it worked. So there's 4 books in this series, and this is a mafia romance, and it's so crazy and so entertaining. It's about Adrian and Leah. They're married. Wait, I gotta oh, it's so much going on. Okay, it starts off, Leah's this homeless girl. Leah's this homeless girl who thinks she's, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to explain it because it's a lot. I don't want to give it away because of the series. It ends in a cliffhanger, but it's so good. I'm gonna spoil it. Spoiler, I'm spoiling it. So Leah thinks she's someone else, and Adrian's her husband, and he's trying to get her back. So he's like, I need your help with something. I need you to pretend to be my wife. And then you find out she really is his wife. She just is going through some mental health problem where she really thought she was this other girl because she tried to escape her life by she found her doppelganger to take her place, but Adrian knew right away that the doppelganger wasn't his wife. So yeah, so she tried to run away from her life, and then the second book is a prequel of the first book. Is how they met and stuff like that. You found out she was a ballerina, and then she got hurt. Her dancing partner dropped her on purpose, and then Adrian because he knew that guy did it on purpose. I was like, oh my gosh, it was so good. That's all I can say. This series was crazy. It was good, and there's a lot more than what I'm not saying, but I don't want to give it away. I already gave it away, but it's still a lot more to it. But it's so good, so entertaining, and I gave the series is 4.5 stars. I think I gave the first book 5 stars, the second book 4 stars, something like that. So I'm gonna just say 4.5 stars for the entire series because I really do love this series. It's one of my favorite mafia romances. Next book I read is called Playing with Fire, and honestly don't know how to describe this book because it was all over the place. It was a lot going on. The plot was all over the place. The couple in the book, they went from hating each other to loving each other in 5 minutes. And I personally thought that they were doing a lot for them to be in high school. I feel like it would be more believable if it was set in college maybe. But for that reason, reading it, I was like, this book really isn't for me. So others might like it though. It just wasn't for me. So I gave this book 2 stars. The next book I read is called Caught Up, and this is the 3rd book of the Windy City series, and it was so good. This is a sports romance, a single dad romance, and a boss employee romance. And it's about Kai, the baseball player, whose coach hires his daughter Miller to be Kai's nanny for the summer because she's burnt out from her chef jobs and she needed a break. So he thought it'd be a good idea for her to be the nanny to help Kai out and to see his daughter. So yeah, you got that, and I really did like this book. I liked all the books in the series. And this book was no different. I like this book. I like the found family aspect. I did cringe a little bit, especially when she called him baseball daddy, and some guys on the baseball team called her hot nanny. I cringed, And my only like real complaint about this book was that it was too long. And I know the other books was long, but this one was dragged on like a lot more in my opinion, because like you already know the ending. Like, girl, you're not gonna go back to your job, to your regular chef job, because you want to be with him in the sun because you have that attachment. But it was really good and really cute, and I gave this book 4 stars. I still think the first book in the series is my favorite. Yeah. So 4 stars for this book. The next book I read is called Throne of Power, and this is actually a duet, but I only read the first book. I need to read the second book. But I had high expectations for this book because I love the Deception series so much. It's the same author. So I had high expectations because I was like, I really love this book, so I should love this book. Da-da-da. But I didn't. I was like let down. Oh my gosh. It's a mafia romance, and it just let me down. Oh my gosh. So it's about Rye, this girl who's in the mafia, like, which is surprising. And she marries Kyle, who is this assassin who disappeared like 7 years ago. She married him so that her cousin wouldn't have to. All that. And I was so disappointed in this book because of the fact that she's supposed to be the strong woman and she was just so weak, especially when it came to him. I didn't like that. I didn't like him at all, actually. I'm like looking down at my notes because I have a lot to say. I hated him. Like, hopefully it gets better in book 2, but I really, 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 really hate him. Like, let's see. She was all like, I don't want to get pregnant, use a condom, and guess who doesn't use a condom? Him. And guess who like tells the other mafia people that they're expectant and they're not? Like, why would you do that? Ugh. So like I said, I keep saying like my biggest problem, that's like really the only issue. She's supposed to be this strong mafia girl and you're so weak. Like, you should have slit his throat. He was like undermining her the whole book. I would say that an interesting thing about this book was the fact that Rye, watch her name be Ray though, and I'm calling her Rye. It's like Rai. But Rye is she's a twin, and she actually switched lives with her twin sister. So like, I believe she wasn't the one who originally grew up in the military. It was this, not military, in the mafia. It was the sister, but they switched lives, so because she wanted the sister to have a normal life, stuff like that. But yeah, that's all I got. I keep saying she was weak and I hated him. That's really all I got from the book. So I really hope that the second book is better and he might become somewhat redeemable. I pray. But because of her weakness, when I wanted her to be strong, and the fact that I disliked him, I hated him. I gave this book 2 stars. The next 2 books I read is called Transcend and Epoch. It's a part of the Transcend series, and these books were my favorite books of the month, and I just really love these books, which was crazy because like the whole book was crazy, but it was like crazy good, crazy different. Like, I could not stop thinking about these 2 books, and it took me like a week to pick up another book. And I have to finish the series because I think there's one more, but it wasn't about the couple I was like interested in. That's why I didn't finish it right away. And because I was like still so stuck, I was like, I can't read the 3rd book. I gotta wait. So these books were beautiful. What else? It was beautiful, frustrated, and mind-blowingly good. It's about this professor named Nate who hires a nanny named Swayze, and she has a boyfriend named Griffin. And Swayze has this weird gift where it's like she like knows things that she's not supposed to know. Yes, like she knows stuff about Nate even though like there's like a age difference between them, so she's really not supposed to know stuff. And it's like she's living two different lives at once. One where she knows stuff about Nate, and the other where she's like her regular life with Griffin. If that makes sense. It's kind of crazy and bizarre, but it's so good. Um, the mystery in the book was like everything. Like I did not see where it was going at all. It had my brain going crazy. Like I wanted to slap Swayze so many times. Like she was the frustrating part of the book. Like I wanted to slap her. I was like, "You have Griffin. He's perfect," but she couldn't fight the connection with Nate, and I understood that. But I was like, "Griffin, he's perfect." Like Griffin was my favorite in the book. Like I wanted her to choose Griffin, be with Griffin, all that. It worked out. By the way, spoiler. But he was my favorite. Like he was so sweet, thoughtful. Even like he tries to understand her and her gift. He did. He really did. And I just love him so much. Like he kills for her. Like that goes back to the whole mystery thing. I'm sorry if you could hear my dog, but that goes back to the whole mystery thing. Like him killing for her, and it just touched my heart. I was like, wow, Griffin, you already up here, but now you're even more up here. So yeah, he was my favorite. And then they did break up for a little bit, but they did get back together. And the way they got back together was everything. It was like fate, because I don't want to say too much, but the way they ended getting back together was crazy. Like fate, they were meant to be. Because, like, what are the odds that they both end up in that same town, you know? Like, it was just beautiful. The writing was beautiful. The story was beautiful. I really love these books. Like, even now, I'm, like, still obsessing over those two books. And, like, I'm scared to read the third book because I think the third book is, like, the final ending. And I really think it's about the professor. But I just don't want it to end. I feel like I'm gonna think about these books for a long time. Like they're up there for me. It's so good. I gave both books 5 stars, and I'm excited but also scared to read the third book. Like, cause my brain was already altered from the first 2 books. So imagine what the last book will do to me. It's crazy, but so good, so worth it. 5 stars. The next book I read is called Tempted by the Devil, and this was a mafia romance and an age gap romance, and it's about Tori, who thought she was going to like a regular party with her stepbrother, but it turned out to be her wedding to Angelo, this high-ranking guy in the mafia. So it was like a little forced marriage, because who's saying no to this high-ranking guy in the mafia? Like, be for real. Of course she's gonna say yes. And she did. So like, but him forcing her to like marry him, it kind of like saved her in a sense, because her stepbrother was like abusing her. So it was like, okay, like you ended up being okay going the marriage route. I'll say that. But the plot was decent. My only complaint was the conflict. Like it came out of nowhere, like who the villains were. Because here I'm thinking like the brother is the only villain because we were like introduced to the brother. But like these characters like came out of nowhere, and I was like, wait, what? Where did that come from? In my opinion, I think the villain should have been like an established character, but whatever. It was still a good book. I did cringe a little bit about the whole innocent virgin talk, like because she was this innocent girl. Like I cringed a little bit about that, and I needed more like mafia darkness, you know? Like that's the vibe that I really like when reading mafia books, like mafia action. But I gave this book 3.5 stars. The next book I read is called Talon, and this is book 4 of the series, and I have a problem. I don't know what my problem is, but I have a problem because this is book 4 and I haven't read books 1 through 3. So now I have to go back and read those 3 books and then read the rest of the series after this, which is a lot. Like, why couldn't I start with the first book? But whatever. Okay, so it's about Talon and Asia. There are 2 strangers who are part of this social experiment where they get married to a stranger and they ended up being picked for each other. So it's like what's it called? Married at First Sight, like that. And then you have to live with the stranger for 6 months and be a part of the marriage for 6 months, and then you choose if you want to stay married or get divorced. So I really like this book. I like the storyline because I used to watch Married at First Sight. Like the first couple seasons I did watch it and I did like it. So I like this book. I like the vibe of this book. And it was a good book. But they both pissed me off at times. Like, she annoyed me. She was a little whiny. But then he was an ass. So I'm like, he also annoyed me because of that. But it was still really good. And I did end up really liking them together. I like the banter on his end. Like, he always made jokes. I thought he was funny. And I like that she made him, like, wait for, like, physical intimacy because she wanted to feel a connection. I did like that, and I think it did help their relationship. And he was so cute at times. Like, he's a rock star. I forgot to say, oh my gosh, I forgot to say the tropes. It's an arranged marriage, in a rock star romance, and slow burnish romance. So yeah, he's a rock star, and he was like, he left on like a 2-week tour or something like that, and she was like all sad in the house all alone, but he left her little notes to find, and that was so cute. That part was cute. A complaint I had is they had like a whole lot of miscommunication going on. So if they communicated better, I feel like the whole conflict wouldn't happen. And I didn't like the 3rd act breakup because the way he did it was so mean. And she has like abandonment issues. And I was like, oh, my girl. But yeah, they did break up. But of course, you know, they get back together. And oh my gosh, the way he like ended things was crazy for her to forgive him so quickly. Like, he should have been kissing her ass for months after what he did. I don't want to say what, like, how he did it, but I was just like, if you read this book, you'll understand. Like, she didn't deserve to find out like that. That was crazy. But I gave this book 4 stars, and I can't wait to start the rest of the series and then finish the series. The next book I read is called The Darkness We Share. It is a dark romance / biker romance, and it's about Celia, whose father sold her to the cartel, and then the future president of like a biker gang rescued her. His name's like Connor, and that's like really all I got for this book. This book wasn't for me. I did like when she got her revenge after like what happened to her in a cartel. I liked that part, but other than that, I thought this book wasn't for me. So I gave this book 2 stars. I guess I wanted more, I guess. Because then they ended up like getting engaged so he could become like the president, because apparently you couldn't be president of the biker gang until like you were married, stuff like that. I just wanted more from the book, if that makes sense. The last book I read for the month of October is called Never Have I Ever. This is a college romance, a good girl, bad boy romance, and it's about Rosalie, who like they're playing during a game of like Never Have I Ever. Rosalie like realized that she's never done anything, like she didn't experience anything, so she wants to change that, and she asks bad boy Grayson to like help her because he did a lot of stuff apparently. And yeah, this book was okay. It just wasn't for me really, because like I put the quotes on bad boy because he wasn't really a bad boy. He was a fraud. Like, he came from money. He was rich. Like, I didn't understand So yeah, because of that, I didn't really connect with either of the characters. I think because it wasn't a lot of depth to them or to the book. I think their backstory with their like family problems should have been like explained more. Like, yeah, it should have been explained more because like he was like selling papers, like writing people papers, stuff like that. But like you come from a rich family, so that should have been explained more. The relationship she has with her mother should have been explained more. Like why was she so sheltered, stuff like that, should have been explained more. And I didn't like the third act breakup. I hate third act breakups. Oh my gosh. And like the way he broke up with her was so mean, so rude, and she forgave him so easy. Like he was like, "I'm sorry, let's be together," and boom, she forgave him. Like he should have been groveling, kissing her feet. But yeah, other than that, like it was an okay book. It just wasn't really for me. So I gave this book 2.5 stars, and that was the last book I read for the month of October. I can't wait to read more books in November. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.